This is NFA Talk, the show that talks about guns and gun rights, keeping you up to date with what's currently going on, from the newest guns, promotions, and events, plus how we're lobbying for your rights.
Good day, everyone. I'm Nathaniel Milger, Social Media Coordinator for Canada's National Firearms Association. Tonight, we have with us the Black Hats and our Alberta Director, Dwayne Gorniak. Good evening, gents. How are you?
Good evening.
Excellent. How are you?
Not bad, thanks. Just getting over something here. So before we get going here, I just got to get our promo up here, and as soon as that's over, we'll get right to it.
The annual Big Freaking Gun giveaway, the Grey Guardian. With every $50 donation to Canada's National Firearms Association, you receive a chance to win this top-tier Cadex Defense R7 rifle, complete with loopholed scope. Plus, this year we are including a Level 1 precision rifle course at legendary Canadian sniper Rob Furlong's Marksmanship Academy in beautiful Alberta. This 3-day course is taught by an excellent team of experienced veteran instructors that will hone your marksmanship skills to a whole new level and is an opportunity not to be missed. Get those donations in now for your chance to win. Our fall t-shirt campaign is in full swing. With the purchase of any t-shirt, you are entered to win a beautiful Beretta 1301 Tactical Marine 12-gauge shotgun. Promotion ends soon, so visit our online store and grab a shirt today.
All right, with that out of the way, first things first. I just want to get this out there because we have retention pretty good in the first 10, 15 minutes. The main message for tonight's podcast is get to the UCP AGM if you are an Albertan. It's extremely important. The early bird is over, but there's been so much chatter about the Bill of Rights. Everybody's very excited about it. But one thing that's really bugged me about this whole thing is that they're making it sound like it's a done deal, and it is not. So get there. The early bird is over. I know it's expensive, but really for the cost of a sporterized, butchered Lee Enfield rifle, you can actually get in there and maybe be able to keep the rest of your stuff. That being said, I'm going to pass it off to you guys. Maybe you had actually just mentioned you were a little worried that people were thinking that registration was over. It actually is not. You'll actually be able to buy tickets at the door. And off to you guys.
All right, Mitch and Scott, I guess I'll leave it at you guys. We've the last time we had this discussion, we talked a little bit about what you guys were doing with the Bill of Rights and with Danielle Smith's support in that. And it's just been a great initiative to see. I'm hoping with everything we've done with the NFA and with the campaigns you guys have done, the town halls you've done, that we've made a difference. From what I understand, this has broken every record out there. There's supposed to be over 6,000 people at this AGM. And I'm really hoping they're on our side and not the 1905 committee side, because that's the message to all you people out there. The 1905 committee, if you want my opinion on it, boy, don't be listening to them. They're doing everything they can right now with robocalls, text messages. They're actually sending letters out. I know you've gotten some, Nathaniel. I've gotten some. And they're trying to paint Danielle Smith like some monster. And I'd just like to remind everybody that this 1905 committee, in my opinion, comes from the Kenny camp, and I'm not a fan of them. So I'll pass it off to you guys now.
Well, here we are now, 5 days before the AGM, I guess. We're talking about having a debate on the floor, which will end up with a vote. So the vote is going to be to accept the Bill of Rights as we present it. I really believe that you would be this is an important moment in the history of Alberta. I really think that based on what's going on federally, based on all the attacks that the federal government is launching at us at light speed, one after the other, the latest being Bill 293, that if you're not scared, you should be. What's going on there is really beyond belief, beyond my comprehension. Never thought I'd ever see anything like this in my lifetime. What we've managed to do here is we've managed to get a Bill of Rights to the floor, including the right to bear arms, which is pertinent to what we're talking about here. So I really believe that I think it's important that you take the day off and go down there and take care of your rights and freedoms. Everybody says, well, what can I do? I'm only one vote. I'm going to promise you that if your vote is ever going to matter, it's going to matter on Saturday, November 2nd. Like, if you've ever thought that you're going to be voting for anything, you will be representing a lot of people with your one vote. It's very critical that we get as many people there. We want to win this thing. There's people out there that don't want us to win this thing. So there's people out there that actually don't want us to have more rights and freedoms. And that's basically what the debate's going to be about. We're talking about more rights and freedoms for Alberta, more protection from the federal government. And of course, as a consequence to that, it'll also include the right to bear arms.
And on that note, people that don't want us to have more rights and freedoms, I just want to throw out there that Naheed Nenshi finally decided to say something about the Bill of Rights here a couple of days ago.
Who asked for this? No Albertan has a priority saying we want the right to bear arms subject to federal laws, or we want the right to keep our property just as we do today.
Well, I can guarantee about 7% of Alberta, all of those firearms owners are guaranteed wanted this on top of every other right on that bill. There's a lot of people. There's an entire freedom convoy that was involved that originated out of Alberta that wanted this, Naheed. So I mean, maybe read the room, buddy. You know, if you were worried or had any sort of doubt that the NDP, the Alberta NDP, were going to stop with their kind of gun grabbing scenario, well, rest assured, he's going to pick up that mantle and he's going to run with it. And he's going to take everything he can from you that he can.
Yeah, and I think if we look federally, Bill C-21, the red flags law, it's a direct attack, a major threat for people's ownership of firearms, and frankly, their right to have protection from the government coming into their homes. It's a huge deal, and a strong comprehensive Bill of Rights can help prevent those things.
And that's a huge thing that we're dealing with at work as well now too. Here, we're getting a lot of people that are. We actually we had a guy contact us, and he got into a rather loud back and forth kind of domestic squabble with his wife, and the neighbor called. They came. They took his guns away. And now he's fighting to get his guns back. His wife even wrote a letter and said, look, we got heated, but it wasn't a big deal. Can you give the guy his guns back? I feel safe. It's fine. Everything's fine. But under C-21 and these red flag laws, he's now having to fight the government, fight the RCMP, fight everyone to get his stuff back just because of well, I mean, really, let's be honest. It was just a bad neighbor that just wanted to, smear the guy through the mud. So that's
right.
Yeah.
And under C-21, what every Canadian needs to remember is that we don't have a proper justice system anymore where you were innocent until proven guilty. Now with C-21, you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent with that red flag law. And it's a very dangerous law.
Like many others, we're talking 293 here. That's the right number, isn't it, Scott? That last federal bill. Anyways, what they're talking about there is they're talking about in case of an emergency, we're going to lose our sovereignty as a nation, and the United Nations is going to come in and take care of us. I don't know. I don't think that we need that kind of help. So I think we have to be careful. I think we have to set ourselves up in Alberta as the freest place on earth, and that's going to be up to us right now. Yeah. Right now, if we show up and we vote and we say, look, rights and freedoms are our priority here in Alberta right now. And along with that, it's going to come a lot of things, freedom of the press, because if we have rights and freedoms, we'll have freedom of expression. We'll be able to say what we want to say. We'll be able to choose medical treatment, which is going to be our prerogative. There's lots of stuff attached to rights and freedoms that we took for granted forever and ever. And now we feel that we have to actually define. And if we don't define them, it seems to me that the other side seems to find a way to take them away from you. Parental rights, for example, another thing. And gun rights. I mean, I remember I was selling guns when you didn't need registry. And I remember also people saying back then, and I poo-pooed it, saying, oh, well, they're just going to use that to take your guns away. So 40 years later, 35, 40 years later, here we are. They're actually lined up, like everybody said, with a registry, and they know who's got the guns. And they want to come to your house to take them away from you. Because they want to disarm civilian populations by 2030. That's in the UN agenda. So these are the people that they're going to say that in case we have an emergency, whether it's manufactured or not, they'll be able to come to your home and take your guns away from you. And I think we should pay attention.
100%. Well, and I was out there in High River. I was out there in High River, and they weren't even supposed to have the long gun registry anymore at that time. And they were just going through the town like a kid in a candy store at each house, right? So I could tell you stories, but that would be a whole different podcast. So if we could get into it, maybe I'll get your opinion on this, Dwayne, first, and then they can kind of, I don't know, add clarity or correct, because it's so convoluted here. But and I don't even know if you guys want to get into this. It's a little bit of mudslinging, but it is what it is. This Nadine Wellwood campaign against Danielle Smith. I mean, I got this letter, and I know a lot of UCP members got this letter where they're talking about, well, Danielle Smith has done good things for Alberta, but has she done enough in the time that she's been in? What is the beef? What is the problem? And another thing too is in the Nadine Wellwood letter, she says, remember when she took over from Kenny, does she have new people to advise her, or did she keep the same people as Kenny? ? She's actually accusing Danielle Smith of being within the same camp as the Kenny camp. So explain this to me.
So you know, that's ironic to me, because when you look at what happened in the past with the UCP and some of these MLAs going through a restructure process, you saw a lot of the Kenny camp being taken out of the UCP with some of the constituency votes that were going on. I know Jason Nixon had a close call up in his area. There was a few other constituencies that had that situation go on, but the whole idea was to pretty much get rid of a lot of that progressive attitude and go back in a conservative grassroots attitude. And that's part of the issue that Jason Kenney had in the past. You know, myself, I'd campaigned for the UCP back then as well, because to this day, I'm still a firm believer on the grassroots policies that they campaigned on and formed the UCP on, which I see Danielle Smith going in that direction to bring back. And throughout those Kenny years, we saw, as soon as they got into power, they went away from that grassroots ideology. And I got to remind everybody, and what you're talking about with this, Nadine, that Danielle Smith hasn't been in power for even 2 years. It's about a year and a half now. How much do you think she can really do in a year and a half? And she's actually done a lot in a year and a half. So people really need to look at that and look at the direction she's going. And in my mind, she's proven herself. I mean, I'm an old Wild Roser as well, and I was on the constituency boards when she was with the Wild Rose, and you know, we saw things all the way back then to now. And I mean, you look at what she's doing now, and she's definitely making a big difference, in my opinion, in, like I said, about a year and a half. And you know, Scott and Mitch, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think she's done lots of stuff. You know, I mean, there's people out there that say they'd like her to do more things. I understand where Nadine's gripe comes from. Nadine was nominated, and she went through the process to run for the MLA, and the party disqualified her based on comments that she'd made online before. And actually, the person that took her place won the MLA's job. So, I mean, I understand that. I understand why she wouldn't be happy with that. But the whole thing with criticizing the Premier for not moving fast enough is something that I've heard before, and I've heard a lot. But we're talking about a lot of stuff going on here right now. When we're talking about gun rights, who else is talking about it? You know, who else?
You're right about that. Who else is talking about it right now? Danielle Smith is the only Premier throughout this whole country talking about it. She's been the bravest Premier we've seen since the days of Ralph Klein.
Scott Moe, and you know, God bless him.
Congratulations, right. Scott Moe is right there, kind of alongside. But I still will give it to Danielle that she has been the loudest and the proudest, and you know, bringing us rights. And then you have all of these fearful socialists for some reason that are brainwashed into thinking that these rights are going to somehow, you know, turn their lives upside down. Like I just don't get it with some of these socialists, right?
Yeah, she's the only leader that I know of in the free world who is affirming more of our God-given rights in our supreme legislation in the Alberta Bill of Rights. Like, who else is doing that? And it takes time to bring these things together. As you know, obviously we're talking about firearms today, but she's been doing lots of things, whether it's, you know, standing up to the feds on caps on oil and gas production, going out internationally to promote our oil and gas. She just announced that they're going to review the professional bodies that regulate our physicians and pharmacists and nurses, so that they can actually speak out, have that freedom of speech, and use their expertise during a pandemic instead of being forced to toe a line that's probably hurt people. So we could talk for hours about the stuff that she's doing. She is a woman of action, but it still takes time to get these things done. So I don't think it's a fair criticism for someone to say she's not going far enough, fast enough, because there's only so many hours in the day, and it takes a huge team of her ministries to get these things done. And she can't just do it by edict either. She's been working with municipalities. She's gone around the province doing town halls all summer about certainly the Bill of Rights, but all the other major issues out there as well. So one thing I really like about her is she talks with people, not just to people. And she's always got the notebook down there, taking down good ideas. And she brings a team with her, and people have brought up various issues at the town halls, and then a minister or assistant goes and helps them where possible with certain things. And so she's solving problems too. So yeah, she's the right leader at the right time.
And you have to also understand what the situation here is in Alberta. What we have in Alberta is a wounded electorate. What we have in Alberta is an electorate that was wounded by the government, which happens to be the UCP when it happened. So I'm a member of that group. I'm a UCP chair. So I'm part of the government. I have a voice there, which is something that we decided to do. Both Scott and I are on CA boards, and that's where this whole thing started. This whole thing started as literally grassroots. So what I'm saying is that she also has progressives in her caucus, probably half of it, people that were on the other side before, that brought all this misery down on our heads 3 years ago. And hindsight is showing us that they weren't right. So a lot of these people don't want to be responsible for any of that, or some of the harms that may have come to people. So there's a lot of things in play here, and it even shows more how much commitment she's got to making change, because she's got lots of devils to deal with, whether they're on the outside or the inside, for that matter. So, I mean, we're going to give her a hall pass on some of this stuff based on what she's actually dealing with. HS, can you imagine arm wrestling with a $26 billion business and trying to change that basically in 1 year? Just saying. So I mean, there's so many balls in the air there that it's difficult. But give her credit. We're here today. This grassroots initiative, like I say, started in 2 CA boards in 2 small towns. So we're here. We've done something that nobody thought was going to be possible. We've put gun rights on the table, and we're actually trying to set an example for the rest of the country. I'm a gun dealer. That's what I do for business, as well as sell sporting goods of all kinds. But Scott's a gun aficionado, and both of us agreed right off the bat that gun rights was going to be an important thing for us to get through, and no reason not to do it here in Alberta. Our hope is that we can get this going nationally. If we can get gun rights in Alberta, why can't we get gun rights in Ontario? Why can't we get gun rights in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, the Northwest Territories, all places where guns are part of everyday life?
And to say that she's doing nothing, or at least not doing enough, I mean, she's in the national news every week. Every week there's something new. I mean, today, what is it? She's taken the federal government to court over equalization payments or something today. I haven't even had a chance to look. I've been so busy, but I saw front page news, Danielle Smith again and again and again and again. There's a lot of people out there that they can't even name all the premiers of Canada, but everybody knows who Danielle is. So I don't know, man. I don't know. There's not a lot of ground to stand on with that one. So, okay. So here's a couple of questions that you guys can probably answer for everybody here. And even a couple of these questions I'm kind of interested in as well. So I'm going to throw some questions to you guys that we've gotten through the internet here. So one thing to really kind of hit home how important this has been for people is there's a lot of individuals that are contacting us on Facebook, Instagram, nobody on Twitter yet, but Instagram, Facebook, that are, I've never done anything like this before. I'm a UCP member, whatever, I pay my $15, $20, $30, whatever it is a year. But I've never gone to an AGM before in my life. I've never been at anything like this before. It's super important though that I'm there because I'm a gun owner and I'm taking this very seriously. how does this work? What do I do? How do I get in? What's happening there? Is it formal? Is it informal? How do I know when to vote? Now, I've told a lot of them, just look for the guys in the black hats, wear a black hat, look for the guys in the black hats, and come over to us. We'll help you out. We'll hold your hand. We'll make everything happen, because there are a lot of people, and God bless them, they're country people, that they don't go to things like this, right? So fill us in. What's the procedure of the AGM?
You go ahead first, Scott, and then I'll fill in.
Well, it's actually pretty easy. Once you got your ticket, or if you show up at the door, you're going to have to go through registration, and they are going to give you the schedule of the events for the weekend. You'll have a program book that will talk about the new policies and governance resolutions that will be coming up for voting. And that schedule, if you go onto the UCP website, go onto their AGM sub website, that schedule's already up. It may change. I don't think it will at this point, but you'll have all the good stuff. Like they're doing a bear pit, so the premier and ministers are going to be taking questions, so that's going to be pretty exciting, face to face. So instead of being the fly on the wall, you're going to be that participant in the public square debates, which is going to be great. The premier is going to have an accountability session, so you'll be able to hear what she's doing about policy that's been passed in the last 2 years, and probably some things looking forward. You're going to have people running for the board that will be doing their campaign speeches, so you'll understand kind of what they're about. So you'll get to vote on them, and you'll actually get to vote on, I think it's 35 policies this time, Mitch?
33.
33. Okay, and how many do you have?
Six from RCA. Six out of 6,000.
Yeah, so you're going to see a lot of Bonnyville, Cold Lake, St. Paul CA members up there. I think about 300, right, Mitch?
Yep.
So they're an active CA. So if you run into anybody, either from the Black Hats or Mitch, if you want to learn how to get into politics, they'll just teach you how to get, go to a constituency association meeting, and you just learn from there. So basically, you're going to have a registration package. It's going to tell you everything you need to know. And you'll have like a badge so that, you can go in and out as you need to. What I would recommend is plan to spend Friday night and Saturday night, because there are after hours booths and rooms. So you'll be able to meet some more people and some of the really strong CAs like Bonnyville, Cold Lake, St. Paul, and Calgary Naheed. And you'll see some of the exciting things that they do. It's just amazing how some have this built-in leadership, and they've had great succession plans, and then they just build on previous boards, and they're doing such amazing things. So, and you can see, that strength even in the provincial board as well.
So I'm going to add to what Scott said. Now, there's going to be a debate on this Bill of Rights in front of the members. So we need your support there. We need you to come and vote for your gun rights. And if you don't believe this is going to be important, just trust me. This is going to be a really big deal. Again, I mentioned it before. You're going to have the opportunity to vote on many things. A lot of them freedom related, most of them freedom related. All of our resolutions from my CA board are all freedom related stuff. We're going to talk about DEI. We're going to talk about the Justice Department. We're going to talk about parental rights. We're going to talk about whether unions should be allowed to fund political parties. We're going to talk about all manner of stuff like that. But the other thing you're going to find is that you're going to be in a room with a lot of people that think like you. And I'm going to extend a formal invitation to all gun people to the marquee room at the AGM, which is going to be hosted by my CA and Calgary Naheed, two of the strongest CAs in Alberta. We hold 900 people, so we want you all to come. We've bought some food for you. We're also going to have liquor available there for Friday night after the governance policy. So Friday night, there's going to be a governance policy event. Starts at about 5 o'clock. It should end at 7:30. Then after that, we're inviting you all to come to the marquee room where we'll be, and you can have a conversation with all the leading freedom people in the province, as well as there's going to be lots of cabinet ministers, MLAs, all manner of government people there, all manner of freedom fighters. I don't know who's going to be there. Last year, it was a who's who of the freedom movement in that room. So we're expecting no less this year with This is going to be the biggest political convention in the history of Canada. We believe that gun rights and gun people are going to be a big part of that. We hope they are. And so, you know what? We're looking forward to meeting you and talking to all of you.
And I of course forgot the big thing, Mitch, right? The leadership review for Premier Smith. So
yeah, there you go.
We see it as critical to the eventual success of the Bill of Rights that the Premier gets a very strong support so that she doesn't get bounced out. So what we're suggesting is wear a black hat in support of firearms rights and in support of Premier Smith, who's the only leader I can ever remember in this country, at least, who's been, pro firearms, law-abiding firearms owners. And this bill doesn't come forward without her. If she's gone, what happens to the bill?
Yeah.
Is there another champion in government?
I just
I don't
know to that, Scott, and what you're talking about. I still can't understand the reasoning of the 1905 committee trying to take her out, because they take Danielle Smith out in this leadership review, and we're going to see Nenshi come right up the middle. Like I don't understand how crazy this organization can be, and like I said, a year and a half she's been in power. She's done a lot in a year and a half, and I just don't understand what they think they're going to gain by taking her out. And I don't think they understand how dangerous that is. And my question to them is, who are they going to replace her with that's going to be able to hold Nenshi off?
Yeah, and I would say too, like if you're looking for a logical grounds to change a leader, I think it made sense for Premier Kenney to face a leadership review after what his government did during the pandemic. Right. What evil has Premier Smith's government dropped on us? What major attack on its citizens has she dropped? She's been fighting for us. It would be ridiculous, if the school bully comes around and you have somebody who defends you, and then you complain about how they defend you, but you weren't ready to defend yourself. Like, it's just ridiculous, I think, to try and get rid of Premier Smith.
So I have another question for you guys. When the voters, this is a question I get from some people that have been calling me as well. When they all get there, the big thing is what message do you guys have to these voters? Obviously, one message is to vote for Danielle Smith in the leadership vote, and that's my message as well. But what else would you guys tell the voters to vote on? I guess when it comes to the amendments to the Bill of Rights, I imagine your message is to make sure they support those amendments. But
there's going to be 33 resolutions. So what's going to happen is that they're going to be introduced. Then there's going to be 3 yes conversations and 3 no conversations, and then the members are going to decide if which way they want it to go, yes or no. So there's going to be a lot of freedom resolutions there. Last year it was a real love-in for the freedom movement, actually. You're going to be in with people that think like you, and you're going to see firsthand that you can make a difference on policy that will become law. So just let's go back a year. This actual policy, this bill that we're putting through, we introduced last year as the 15th one. Scott and I decided, as CA, we represented each of our CAs, and they took the lead on it. They wrote up the Bill of Rights. They did all the work on it, and they asked me to participate and help them defend it and actually get it to this point where we can put it in front of the membership. So what we did last year was we passed it, and it passed unanimously. There was 3,700 people there. I don't think we had 10 red cards really out of the whole works. I looked around, couldn't see any negatives. I actually spoke directly to gun rights. I had 1 minute, and I spoke directly to gun rights to explain to the membership that this was a big part of it. And it passed unanimously, and here we are today. Now, there's actually progressives out there that are trying to fight us based on the process this year that we're getting it to the floor, saying that the provincial board overreached, stepped out of its lane, and it's forcing people to deal with this. But we just had a conversation. It will be going to the floor. We will be having this debate, and it's very important that you're there to help us out and vote for us.
I would say anybody who hasn't been to one of these AGMs, and if you're listening tonight, when you see Mitch on the big screen or you hear his good old gravelly Eastwood type voice, your ears should perk up, especially at 11:30 on Saturday, because that's when we'll be talking about having a comprehensive Bill of Rights. And that's the time for the membership to show their will that, yeah, let's go hard on this. Let's go far, because we can see what's happening federally. I mean, if you think, federally, we've seen, Prime Minister Trudeau, and frankly, he's not the problem. He's the symptom of the problem, because everybody supported him. There's at least 3 caucuses, Liberal, NDP, and Bloc, who've supported all of this stuff. And anyway, he's facing some criticism from his own party, and he's pretty much shook that water off his back. No big deal. He's going to carry on. The Constitution allows for a 5-year term. Now, the Canada Elections Act, which I believe was changed under Prime Minister Harper, made it a 4-year term. But he could change that bill as well. So it's not just 12 months that we could be facing. It could be 24 months. And the Premier did point out in the last couple of weeks that the most dangerous time for this Liberal government, it's going to be in its last months. Well, if he's got 24 months, there's a lot more damage he can do. And I don't see any shame of him or his government that they would not change the Elections Act. In fact, they just, I think, did, to grant a few more days so that some people could get pensions that wouldn't have been eligible. So I would not be surprised if next spring he says, you know what, we don't have enough time to complete everything that we wanted to do, and X and Y, and got in the middle of it. So we're going to give ourselves another year. That's entirely possible. And I would say pretty likely, in my opinion. And even if it isn't, 12 months is enough. Like, how much more damage can this country take, and how much more or how many more assaults on liberty can law-abiding firearms owners take from this government, this Liberal government? So
I just want to add something to that. My experience with government in the last 3 years, and it's been limited, but the last 3 years I've been all in. Here's what I see. We're not going to depend on a politician to do our work for us. We have to show up to the AGM, and we have to participate ourselves. And that's what's going to hold their feet to the fire and keep them honest. Really, that's the right word. So don't bank on Poilievre coming in and saving the day.
Yeah.
Let's hope Poilievre gets in. And if he's going to do what he says he's going to do, but just remember, he's ruling the whole country. He's just not ruling Alberta. And so he may not have our best interests at heart. Based on that fact, Stephen Harper never built a pipeline. Justin Trudeau actually built a pipeline, which is pretty ironic in my mind. But the whole thing is, let's not count on these politicians to do our work for us. Unfortunately, I've learned that this is going to be a lifelong deal. Keeping an eye on politicians. Based on the fact of what's happening, like I said before, if you're not scared, you should be. You should be very aware. We've never faced a threat like we're facing now. And people are starting to wake up to the fact, but people say, well, I haven't got a path. Well, here's the path. The path is you have to show up. That's the path. Like it or not, there's no other answer to it. Either show up or get a group of people going and get organized and move. Because other than that, you're at the mercy of those people. It's divide and conquer. And if you're standing by yourself, unfortunately, there's nothing you can do. And here's the flip side of that. The other side, the people that are putting this down on top of us, they're only people, and there's not that many of them compared to us. That's our strength. Our strength is absolutely in numbers. So we have to vote in big numbers. We have to show up in big numbers. They don't want to see large groups of people with an opinion that doesn't match theirs. That is totally what they absolutely do not want. So to sum that up, please show up and continue to show up.
And to Scott's point there too, it seems to be the political MO in Canada. It's extremely important to show up and continue to show up, because the political MO is to make as much damage, destroy as much as you possibly can when you're on your way out, so that when the next guy comes in, he has to spend all of his time and resources fixing everything that you've done so that you have a quicker kick at the can after, which just seems so disingenuous, especially for the modern time right now. It's just absolutely brutal that the first thing that you decide to do when you start to see yourself dropping in the polls is start to destroy it for the next guy so that you can get in there and destroy it even more when you get back in. So that's why you have to keep going and have to keep going, is because once Justin Trudeau's out, that's fine. That's great. Yay. It's going to happen. He's not going to be in there forever, obviously, but there's going to be another Liberal government in there, and there's going to be another Liberal government in there sooner than we can realize. And we need to be able to bolster against that now, sooner rather than later. And, you know, we might have had, what was it, 30 years of conservative governments in Alberta, but there will be another NDP government in Alberta one day. And we need to be able to solidify our own group so that they can do as little damage as possible when they finally do get in. And you just always got to be on guard, especially these days, because if you went back 30, 40, 50 years, there's little differences between the parties, very little differences between the parties. And now it is night and day. You either believe in normality and common sense, or you believe in clown world and insanity, and everybody gets everything taken away, and we all get a paste to eat, and we all get in our pods. I mean, it's getting bad, man. It's getting bad. So I
really hope you're wrong, Nathaniel. I don't ever want to see another NDP government in Alberta again. And I come from Saskatchewan, born and raised there. And NDP used to mean never-ending dips and potholes, and now it means needles, drugs, and poverty, right? But yeah. We'll leave it at that.
Funny, but it's not. Yeah, for sure. So. Okay, so another thing too is a question that we did touch on it on our last podcast. All of the voting gets done on the second day. Danielle Smith is going to do, I think, it's a 45-minute or a half an hour speech on the Bill of Rights on the second day, and then it is voted on the second day. So if you can only make it for one day, the second day is the day you need to be there. That's the one. But I mean, if you want to see the movers and shakers, if you want to hang out with the cool kids, man, come on Friday. We're gonna have a good time, I think. So. I think that's it. I think that, you know, we're just going to do a short one tonight here, because I'm starting to lose my voice again. But anybody have anything to say in closing?
Well, just that the Bill of Rights, Bill 24, the Alberta Bill of Rights Amendment Act of 2024, it actually does have the right to acquire, keep, and use firearms in accordance with the law. So obviously, we'll be looking for more details on that, and hopefully we'll strengthen that with other acts or otherwise. But you know, she's made a promise and she's kept it. So you got to be there so that it doesn't get washed out by having her deposed as leader. It's critical, and there's much more to add to the Bill of Rights as well, and you can affect that on Saturday. Go ahead, Mitch. Sorry.
Come and support us and wear a black hat. Show the world where you are.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Dwayne, any parting words of wisdom?
Show up and wear the black hat, like Mitch said, and make sure we hold these socialists off trying to take out Danielle Smith. Because like I said, you know, what are they trying to prove, you know, with her a year and a half in trying to take her out? They take her out and we're going to wind up with Nenshi, and that's just not a good situation. And
that's not an option.
No, it's not an option. So
Montana's starting to look real good if that happens.
I guess that's my other message to that too. You know, if the 1905 committee is successful taking her out, you can pretty much kiss this Bill of Rights goodbye. So
yeah, Alberta, show up. All right, and we'll see you there too. All right, good night, guys. Thank you so much. And we'll see you in a couple of days.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, you will. Looking forward to it.
Thanks for listening to this episode of NFA Talk. Like and follow the NFA on social media and sign up to become a member.